morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I'm Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. Today, we have Shadow Fox and her husband, Lee Two Hawks, on the flow. And today's topic is whatever in the hell you want it to be. Last week, we shot the shit. This week, it's kind of more like a casual conversation. So when you join in and there's a question or something that you'd like to know about, feel free to ask. We are kind of leaving it open to the people this week. We're going to hit some topics here and there, so feel free to jump in. Shadow Fox, Lee, how you doing today?
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I kind of like to think that we're just spacing, right? We're just
Jason,
spacing.
that's the word. I forgot it.
Oh, okay. Wait. You got to see this real.
The
The
struggle is.
yeah. There we go. That's
Yep.
my buddy Yoda.
Yep. So, in honor of that, and that's why we're kind of spacing today.
Well, there you go. Yoda said.
I'd like to pose a question just for opening or discourse or
Go
anything
for
else.
it. Go for it.
Does global human emotions around the globe, like in wartime, there's anger and frustration, or other than so, whichever is more predominant emotion, does that affect the weather?
Ooh, that's a good question.
There has been some scientific studies that have shown sunspots during angry times on the Earth, and so there's been no equivalency that's really been proven, but the thought is there.
Well, since we truly have no way to measure in scientific aspect the energy produced from actual emotions, the exact emotions, there's no way we can actually know that on a scientific aspect. As far as I would say, a belief system, depending upon how you feel about certain beliefs, how you feel about certain sciences. Um, as an example, the laws of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. So I believe that the energy that you project out, whether it's anger, whether it's happiness, whether it's whatever, I believe that can have an effect on things around you. And most certainly can have an effect on other people. If somebody's angry and they're walking through the grocery store and you see them and you feel them, um, if you can feel that anger, it's obviously having an effect on you. So why not? Couldn't it have an effect on weather? I believe it probably could.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, if you think within there's a tornado or a hurricane, and what is the major reaction when one's barreling towards you is fear.
Or
So that
excitement.
fear, so not only do you have anger that, like Lee Two Hawk's question, but fear can also feed it, and so therefore perhaps that can get much stronger. So yeah, I mean there's quite a bit of different theories behind it. Of course, we can't prove it,
You brought up a tornado, so I'm going to post a theory here. Okay. If energy can control the weather, I want you to think about this. Okay. We've had a lot more tornadoes here in the last decade. We've had a lot more storm chasers in the last decade that get excited. They want to catch the perfect tornado on film. Maybe with all these storm chasers out there, maybe they're generating more tornadoes.
I think the force that would be required to give speed, volition of a tornado. That's the wrong term to use because the volition is a human frame of thought or energy. However, I do believe there's a trade off between that exemplification of action, which we call a tornado, is the same thing when you have a woman or a male screaming at each other in a house.
Yep.
And exemplified over 8 billion people.
Yep.
Not that everybody's screaming at each other at the same time, each is residual in its formatting of space and time.
So here's something too. If you know the anger or the fear can increase, perhaps feed a storm. Okay,
Mhm.
uh, how would you, if there's one, there can't be something without the other. So, how could we logically we can think through this, right? We would be able to literally calm that storm, and it's the same concept. What Lee Two Hawks brought forward, having that nasty ass energy, where you have family members, screaming at each other in a house. Well, it builds up energy within the room, within the house. We get stale, stagnant energy. We've spoken on that before. And if we can clear that in our home, well, wouldn't it also theoretically, how would we be able to calm the storm? It's if we take a look at what's going on, even in the political arena, there's a lot of fear, there's frustration. People are acting out because perhaps they didn't get their way. I'm just speaking on elections, for instance. And so they get angry and they start going and shooting bullets through children's bedrooms. So all I'm saying is that, is that really an effective means to bring about change in any capacity? How can we calm that? How can we, lower the temperature on this? So, is this a great big, huge, angry political storm? Is this is this the energy that we choose to live and breathe in?
Then we have to have okay, you have anger, which in and of itself is a exceedingly forceful impact of energy. The counteraction of that is the one thing we all mentioned, the one thing nobody knows how to do.
I was waiting for that one. I knew that one was coming. I was like, no.
Is love. If we can translate our anger into love, do you know what that can do for this planet, for the humanity itself, for all the animals that we are responsible for, through all the conditions thereof?
Here, I mean, think about it, Paul. Just think about it for just a moment. Now, would humanity really be able to step into this right now? Probably
No.
not. Probably not. But here's another suggestion. I mean, we're not getting specifically political, but you know, let's just tone things down for just a moment. What if two opponents on a political platform were going into a debate, for instance, right? What if the first number one question that was asked to either one of them would be this: what makes your opponent a great choice for this position? Name three. Give me three things that your opponent is very good at for this position. Could you see how the energy and the thought patterns? I mean, oh my God, seriously, I gotta think I'm against this guy or I hate this guy and every single thing that he's ever done wrong, because that's everything that we've been hearing about, right? It's all the nasties about what one person has
Yeah.
done or hasn't. Think about how that could change. Do you think that could also decrease that nasty energy that's floating around out there? I'm just, come on,
No,
try name three. I
First,
mean,
first of all, you have to have mature individuals, which we do not have.
exactly. Thank you very much. And like I said, would we be able to do it even in this next coming, you know, election? Nope, nope, because they're very immature across the
yes.
board.
You know, it's kind of like a job interview. When you go in for a job interview, you're selling yourself,
Mhm.
okay? And you're supposed to be trying to explain why you're the best person for this position.
Right.
Why should they hire me? Okay?
Mhm.
when I'm in that interview, I don't get to say Johnny on aisle 3 picks his nose. I would be
Right.
better than him. And, Donna over on cashier number 3 is never says hi when I check out. We don't
Right.
get to talk about other employees. We have to sell ourselves. And what
Right.
we've turned into in this political realm is how bad can you trash your opponent while we
Exactly.
know nothing about you and what you can do for me,
Right.
you know?
Right. And I think, Paul, and it's just an idea being put out there. I mean, what if, political opponents within that realm really had to come up and really had to think about that other person? The other person is not the enemy. This is what creates separation. This is what creates division in arguments. And then after you listen, I mean, I was thinking come up with maybe 10 reasons why that person would be a good fit for that position.
Right.
I don't think people would be able to do it.
No.
3. However, you would then therefore be able to then say, but here's where my policy is. This is what I'm going to bring forward in order to help blah 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 blah. Whatever that is. So this way they can focus within the policies for what they're going to work
Right.
towards gaining.
See, it'll never happen because as soon as you ask that question, they'll be like, well, I can't name anything good, but I can give you 3 reasons why they shouldn't.
They give you 20. Oh, they pop off 20
Right.
immediately.
So we can't even do one. We can't even ask them to give us one because they're not going to be willing to do that. We have to get them to quit talking about their opponent first.
Now, yeah, but Paul, but here
Baby
again,
steps.
we're talking about shifting and changing the energies around. And if people start waking up and saying, hey, wait a minute. Oh, no, 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 no. This is not acceptable. If that were posed as a question, all it takes is somebody that sits on the panel to ask the very first person to ask that question, and they could know that question before they even go in.
Right.
Think about it, because we are the people. These
Right.
people are supposed to serve us. And same thing, storms, right? How
Yep.
can we decrease that velocity?
So
Right.
I have another question,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
if I may.
You may.
If 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 a person is charging you with a rifled round in a weapon with a bayonet on the end of it, is he an enemy?
Okay, say that again.
If we are facing a person who has a loaded weapon, has his finger on the trigger, has a bayonet on the end, is that the enemy?
No.
How do we define enemy?
No, that person's not an enemy. That person is a pawn.
Well, there is that aspect. You're looking at the political aspect. We were all every soldier.
So then speak on that, Lee.
Speak on what?
What you said is that person an enemy? So speak on it.
Way back when I was having a lot of recurring dreams about war, terrible things, and I said, I do not wish for this anymore. What I did is, before I fell asleep, I knew one was coming. I could feel it coming, and the horrid episodes that it showed. But anyhow, I will change this. So when that enemy came towards me with a bayonet straight at my face, I dropped my weapon. He saw what I did. He dropped his, and we embraced. How do you do that in a political scenario? How?
Yeah.
If I can do that in a dream, I don't know how. I don't know.
Maybe 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that dream could have been a reality. And today's climate, I just don't see it. And it's people are so pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Before I go on, Cato said, "Greetings, so good to see you three. Happy New Year! Tuning in live from a coffee shop in Paris. Much love to all. Much love
Oh,
to
hi,
you,
hon. Oh
Cato.
my goodness.
Love you, dear. Enjoy. I wish I was in Paris with you, having a cup of coffee. But
Hey, pretty soon, I'd like you to come back on the show.
oh,
Just have to
definitely.
let you know. Yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
think
you
it,
know, Paul, I must say that when we're taking a look and we're looking at creating our realities, right?
mhm, mhm.
Right now, what you speak about is actually revealing itself in in this present moment, right?
Yes,
So, but the thing is, if we can continue, and it can't just be me. It's got to be everybody. If you'd like to live in that environment, then by all means keep that position. But there are many of us that are this is not acceptable because it's like the just being indoctrinated with so many other things.
mhm,
Doesn't have to be a reality for us,
right,
and we can change it by changing the frequency, by changing that energy around the entire thought process. Because
right.
Paul, I would say right in this moment, right here and right now, Paul, I'd agree with you 100%. And but right now, guess what? Here's another moment.
Let-
No,
let-
I don't agree with you. Not a single bit. Why? Because that's not the world that I personally choose to live in. So
right.
I can take my thoughts and recognize my thoughts for what they are and say, no, that's not what I'm sending forth. Because my thoughts, whatever I'm thinking about, that's being sent out to the universe, and I'm getting back what I'm putting out there. So I refuse to do it.
Yes.
I think there's a thing called self consciousness, which is being aware of our moods and our feelings, our desires, our aspirations, being aware of those and tending to them, or omitting some that don't fit into the little tiny square of who we think we are. That's called glamour.
Mhm.
When
Hmm.
you have glamour, you think that everything around you is of your influence.
Hmm.
That's glamour.
Yep.
And everything is not.
Right.
Our doing or our feeling or way probably 40 years ago I read your reality only extends as far as your arm can reach. How stupid is that?
Right. Well,
Or
again,
you know what I mean?
it's about putting limitations. And let me
There
go
you
back
go.
to let me go back to
Yep.
the question. I want to answer the question and all that. Um, the first thing is you said my enemy with the bayonet, not
Mm-hmm.
your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What people don't realize, and this is where the problem is today, everyone that isn't like you is your enemy. That's the mentality that's being propagated. So if you don't believe as I do, you don't think as I do, you don't love as I do, you don't hate as I do, you don't act in kind as I do, you don't act in vulgarity as I do, then you are my enemy. Okay. So, in addressing what you had said, what I do is I don't look at everyone as my enemy. I look at everyone as people that may have a difference of opinion,
Yeah.
a difference in thought, a difference in belief. And I treat everybody with love and kindness. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I don't care what religion they have or don't have. I don't care what their sex is, what their gender is, what their belief systems are. I act in kind. And as long as I act in kind, I expect the same in return.
Well, what we have is a sensory apparatus, the five senses, so-called five senses. So it creates a reaction or an action depending on the self consciousness of the individual. if he is aware of you as another human entity that's capable of compassion and understanding, he will react or act differently towards a certain sensory. Maybe felt a bad vibe, maybe you had a bad thought and transferred it or whatever. Okay, so in that, what I would say, I'm agreeing what you're saying, but we still have to hopefully realize that it's not the differences which separate us. It's a commonality.
Yeah.
We all cry. We all have tears. We
Yes.
all have fears. We all have lack of proper protocol for conducting ourselves in a human society.
So let me just make a mention, and here's whether it be a play on words or whatever. But Paul, you had made a mention. I'll act in kind. So is that acting in kindness, or are you going to duplicate what you're getting? So if somebody is treating you, for instance, disrespectfully, or if somebody is being argumentative, so are you going to argue with this individual because he has a different view? This
Nope.
is, but this is where we're looking at, and I'm not asking a question specifically towards you individually or personally, but I'm trying to show the difference
Right.
between when we're looking at, because you had even made a mention, you hold that expectation. Well, again, this show is about stepping into the flow, right? This
Yes.
flow is about bringing forward perhaps different ideas that may serve a general purpose grander than ourselves in some capacity. So when we're looking at, I will, treating in kind, uh, or expecting this in return. Hey, I put this stuff out there. I expect nothing in return. You guys can take what we say or not. Okay. The point being is that there are mechanisms, there are cases in point where we can change the circumstances that all of humanity has created. And quite honestly, it can be done relatively quickly if we just step forward and start behaving and acting like the world through which we would like to live in. Now, if you're choosing to live in a world that is constantly, issues are settled with guns and anger and violence, which is never settled, right? Um, then you have that perfect opportunity to do so. But there are many more that would prefer to live a life, to be able to get up, to go to work, and not have a gun in their face, or not have some other person screaming and hollering at them. I mean, why? Because of a frustration? I mean, really? I mean, a mild irritant? And then we have road rage? These are those things where we can develop a more mature, emotional status. And when we can do that, then the people sitting next to us, or in front of us, or even behind us are not our enemies.
Right.
Let me give a very simple example. It's humorous. Okay, it's simplistic in its design. Anyhow, you mentioned you've been married 4 times. I've been married before myself. My previous my previous wife uh, was arguing with me vehemently, and I never said a word back. It's just my condition not to do so, because all it does is add to that frame of
Fuel.
anger or fuel or
Right.
whatever. Okay? So what was funny, she had this long red hair, beautiful, lustrous red hair. And she was jumping up on a dead end, all on the bed on all floors. Why won't you talk to me? Why won't you talk to me? Why won't you talk to me? And I started laughing and laughing and laughing. And you know what? Temper tantrum calmed down, and it was okay. We got by at that
Yeah.
moment. So there are ways to handle different situations that
Yes.
are more fluid and
Yeah.
capable of lessening the terror that might evolve. out of something.
We all have an idea of what's going on right now, right? And we
Right.
can all, step back. We can continue to feed into it and continue to talk about it. This is how it is. This is how I see it. But how would you like to see it? That's the difference.
Right.
And so it's like, this is what this show is about. Just, offering different suggestions on how could we think differently? How could we behave a little differently? That might bring us more into a cohesive responsibility that brings in harmony to our lives, plain and simple. Hey, Paul, there were a couple comments and I can't read them.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, no, I'm going to answer the question and all that. Let me do the comments real quick. Cato said, can't wait to join you guys again. Then we have T-Paw, who said, hello.
Hello.
And we have Hide Your Granny from Twitch that says, Paul James Sisler, too. What a name. Thank you. It is quite a name. I love my name. So, I want to respond to this in the aspect of when you said act in kind. Let me clarify this. I don't mean acting as they act upon me.
Right.
I spent 20 plus years in the casino industry, and there's a lot of negativity in the air. People are coming in, they're losing their money. Okay. And I've had people get up in my face, yelling at me, screaming at me, literally spit in my face.
Oh.
Okay. And I stand there. I casually just wipe it off and listen to what they have to say. Now, it took me a while to learn this because I was taught by Donnie Henson, my craps instructor, a man that had been in the business for a long time. And he had said, Paul, they're not mad at you. They're mad at themselves. They came in, they lost a lot of money. They're pissed that they lost it, and they want to take it out on someone else, not themselves. So when people are angry and they approach me in anger, I've run lots of Twitter spaces. I've had people come in, angry, wanting to yell, wanting to scream because they want to be heard. So that's the whole point of in the moment, okay, is people having a voice and being heard. Whether you're angry, happy, sad, it doesn't matter. If you want to be heard, come on, come be heard. I may not agree with you. I may not like what you have to say, but I will listen.
Yeah.
Now, if everybody were to take on that persona and actually listen to other people,
Yes.
okay, actually sit back and listen. Take the time to be an ear for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to resonate. Because what I found out in the casino industry, when I would listen to somebody and then I would say, okay, well, let me look into this. Let me see what I can do. Here, go over to the buffet, have a lunch on the house, enjoy yourself, and I will work on this situation. And lo and behold, a majority of the time, not every time, but a majority of the time, they would come back and they would say, Paul, I am so sorry that I acted that way. I was mad at myself, or I was mad at blah, blah, blah. I'm so sorry. Not a problem. Not a problem. Let's have a conversation now. Now let's have a conversation. Okay. So sometimes instead of having a conversation and trying to engage, it's best to sit back and listen so you can see what's really eating at the person that is angry or upset or whatever the case may be, because that's going to help with future conversation.
No, I agree with everything you're saying, Paul.
Yep.
However, as the listener,
Mm-hmm.
there is often a psychic injury because when somebody's screaming at you, yelling at you, and you're receiving, that is sound impacting the brain, and it leaves an injury, it leaves a scar of some kind. Yes, we can modify it through our own thinking processes. We can do that, but at the same time, the fact that explosive energy entered our body, our entire body, including the brain, and happens over and over and over and over, there is a definite psychic energy, and I don't know how to correct that.
And again, it's not really for up to like you to correct somebody else's outburst.
No.
The point being is that in order to bring this a full circle around, is that we, even if you look in that stoic aspect of learning to um, uh, um, govern your own emotional components. That includes outbursts. So, and like, I fully agree with what Lee Two Hawks was saying, simply because that still causes an injury. And, think about coming, you're coming home and from work and, there was a mishap on the road. You come into the house and you're all angry and rah, 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 rah. I mean, come on. That was that moment. That was in the past, even if it was 5 minutes ago. It's because those uh, those hormonal signals get thrown into your bodies now. And again, fear. Like you were at the casino, somebody lost a lot of money. Well, guess what? I mean, there could be people that have difficulties with gambling, but if you don't have the money, then don't bet it.
Ah. Now, let me address this.
That would be good because I definitely am a little opinionated on this one. I will tell
Okay,
you.
let me address this. You're right. There is a psychic injury,
Hmm.
but I want you to think about it in a different way. Okay, and hear me out on this. If you are to engage in this, you're cutting the wound deeper, wider.
Hmm.
You're making it worse, maybe to a point that it causes a permanent injury.
Or death.
Okay. Now,
You know.
if you were to sit back and allow yourself this injury, as I do, I allow that injury. I heal more rapidly from it because that negative energy that's coming into me isn't about me. It's about somebody else. And their injury is much deeper than the harm they're going to cause me if I listen.
Okay.
And this is important to understand. I will just to comment on what you're saying at this point. If we understand another human being as being equal to us,
Mm-hmm.
as being a person who has been harmed, and this is their way of expressing that harm, whether they brought it upon themselves doesn't matter. And we understand that I will stand here as a bulwark. I will stand here as this person you can scream and yell at, and it'll be okay. And I'll buy you dinner tonight. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
And here's another view.
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
That injury that they have when they're yelling, and if they continue in that way, they have no way to heal.
Right.
They increase the size of their wound. If I show that kindness, that willingness to listen, just maybe their healing can start to happen. Maybe it'll give them something to reflect back on because whatever their injury is, it's not healing, it's getting worse. And if my injury from their injury is something that I have to give, something that I have to allow to let them heal, I am willing to be injured.
That is called strength of character.
Yes. And here now, let me pose this because here is another aspect to this. Okay, it's not. I'm just putting it out there because you can look at it from a position of an observer. So if a person has only learned those coping mechanisms of when they feel frustration and anger that they go and they scream and holler and have a hissy fit and so on and so forth. So because this is their mode of transport. This is how they're used to behaving. So they could do this all the time. And Paul, you're like, right, maybe somebody, you have to listen to them, right? But if someone only uses this as a mode of transport, the only way they've ever learned to cope with anything is to throw that crud out there and the blame and everything else. Could that not just be, think about this, them taking all their garbage and dumping and emptying the bag out right in front of you, or right on your front steps, or in your living room? Think about that, because it is garbage. That energy is nasty, and they're just throwing this stuff at us. So if you, and I'm not saying somebody being in a situation where it's like, whoa, this is happening, and there's times you got to sit back and lend that ear. But if a person is not learning from that kindness, from the time that you spend with those ears, how many more times do we literally allow that garbage dump to happen? Is it one more? Is it seven more? Or do we step forward and say, hey, listen, here's some tools. Here's something maybe, you could take a look at and maybe try implementing in your life. It might help.
And I am an exemplar of that. As a teenager, I was exceedingly angry because of my environment, etc. We won't go into that. But anyhow, so this guy challenged me to a fist fight. I said, sure, come and get me. I just so angry, I didn't care. If he knifed me, killed me, I didn't care. But I was going to fight him. So I did. And I didn't know he was, what they used to have, a kids program for boxing. I don't remember what it was called. But he was trained in that. I didn't know that. So I got pretty well beat up, but I blacked out. I used to have horrible blackout moments. That was just, I don't know how they passed or what I was doing. And when I came to from that blackout, I had this person on the ground and his hands around his throat, and he was turning blue. At that time, I knew I had to change. That was an event.
Yep.
That's what I call an event.
And this is the reason why I had brought this up, because those were at the time the tools that Lee Two Hawks had. He was angry and miserable, and he saw the world as nothing but a process of expressing this anger and this nastiness, and I don't like you, so I'm just going to punch you out. So how this is a part of when we're looking at when we're frustrated, when we're angry, there are aspects that nobody likes to get shit on, right?
Right.
Nobody likes to get pissed on, right?
Wait a minute.
And then call it a warm summer's rain. I mean, come on, really? And so when we can become cognizant of our behavior, of what we're putting out there, and how it can be affecting another human being. Again, I don't care if you're looking at a political scope. I don't care if you're looking at your next door neighbor that does not pay attention to the fence that you have built around your home. It makes no difference.
Let me bring this up so I can answer your question, because you're talking about people keep dumping their garbage, blah, blah, blah. Let me ask you this first. Do you believe that the majority, all, only some, people are born innately good?
That brings into question a lot of things which go into the esoteric realm, so far as karma, so far as abilities that are agreed upon, nature.
When that baby is born and it comes out and that umbilical cord is cut, is that baby good or evil?
You can't ascribe to it anything because it has no personality.
Thank you. That's the answer I'm looking for, because people are taught. People learn from their surroundings. They learn from their atmosphere. They learn and they learn and they learn.
Yeah.
And they take in information. This is what a baby does when it goes from baby to infant to small child to teenager to young adult. It takes in information, repeats that information.
Mhm.
Okay. So when somebody is coming up and they just keep dumping and you're saying they're not learning, they're not learning. Yes, they are learning. They are learning. And there may come a point, I'm not going to say will because I don't know how they're going to be for the rest of their life.
Right.
But there may come a point where that one interaction, that
Yeah.
one
Yep.
interaction
Yep.
may come into play a day down the road, a week down the road, a year, a decade, on their deathbed,
Hmm.
maybe never. But
Right.
there's always that chance that one
Yep.
interaction could
Yep.
come back and reflect. Let me tell you a story. I had a friend
Mhm.
when I was in Vegas, and this friend used to work the streets. And I showed this friend kindness. And there came a day that person asked me for some money to go home.
Mhm.
And I gave that person that money to go home because something I had said 2 years prior
Mhm.
impacted, and this person decided it was time.
Yep.
Something I said changed that person's life because now today that person is successful, has completely changed their life, and is doing very, very well.
You you
Okay.
know you know Paul, when it comes right down to it, and you really do hold a fantastic point. Um, we can each give another human being that moment where they can catch their breath, they can, regain their dignity, and we can also prompt another perception, because the moment another perception seeps into the conscious awareness, everything can change.
Yes.
And it's like, I think Diana was making a mention when you were talking about, was the baby born good or whatever. And again, it really becomes that qualification of what we term as either A, good, or B,
Right.
bad. We give a value to it. And so and this is where, Lee and I are on the exact same page, is that we like to offer um, people the ideas or another perception, another way of looking at something that's going on in your life that may not have occurred to you. I mean, really, if you were to take your life and just consider it was a business, okay, and for 4 years you're showing a loss with your business and you're in the red and you're trying to figure out how the hell do you get out of this, right? And then all of a sudden somebody comes along and says, um, it's up to you, but I can help you. I can show you why you're in the red. Now, you can sit there and go, yeah, I'd like to know it. But then all of a sudden it comes right back on, and we're playing with ego. We're playing with, the feelings of being incorrect. All of these little things come in and playing. And this is what can create that anger, that hesitation. All right. Where it could be the greatest thing in the world. Like, guess what? Send the bill out. You did this service, send the bill out, and that's what you're missing. That's the only thing. Well, I didn't do that. That's got to be. And then we blame somebody else for that shortcoming.
Hmm.
So our lives are literally our business. And there are people out here that offer fantastic information in qualifying this, how to move forward in your lives. But you have to have the courage to take a look at something and go, oh, shit, you know, yeah, maybe I was off a little bit on that, you know, and own up to it and then move on. Shit happens, move on. But if the only tools we have is doing the exact same thing that didn't work in the first place, and we're really trying to make a change, or it's uncomfortable to feel like this. It's like, wasn't it Einstein that said that? Doing something repeatedly the same way and expecting a different outcome is like, I mean, well,
Insanity, yes.
yeah.
It
So,
really amazes me through this number of years I've been on this earth that people are so invested in their own identity that the least amount of constructive criticism, constructive, something that will help them, aid them, get them motivated in a different direction that doesn't create harm. And once they see that constructive criticism to them, it's a hallmark of you're calling them shit.
Right.
And that's not what it is about at all. But in their brain, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous phenomenon. And I hope that somehow over time we can find a way to assuage that and bring into this culture of humanity, of kindness and compassion, empathy, all those great words we have that mean nothing unless you're listening.
And Diana made a really good point. I don't know if you can pull that up, Paul. Um, you know, Looking at things a new way is very hard. Why the ego is involved?
Wild
And
ego is involved, yes.
yeah, it truly is, and that's why it's like, if we can take a look at our lives and recognize that our lives are our business. That's what we're here for. And sometimes when people say, "Mind your own business," right?
Right.
So again, if we are making errors and we're in the red, sometimes it takes somebody else to come in and say, "Hey, send out the bill." It's
Right.
very simple.
I want to take a step back a second to something else that Diana said. She said that calls for qualification of good.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make a very, I guess, simplistic point. When it comes to qualifying good, there's a lot of aspects that we could sit here and debate and argue. But the
Oh, I
one,
won't do that.
the,
Sorry.
one of the things that is very easy when it comes to determining what is good and what is not good, for me, is very simple, just on face value. Harm.
Yep.
That old adage, create no harm.
Harm. Okay.
Yep.
If it harms somebody, it's
Mhm.
not good. Okay. So first do no harm. And if first you do no harm, then we can broaden that definition out. But it comes right back to harm.
Mhm.
Okay. And when someone is getting in my face, is that harmful to me? Yes, it is. Like Lee said, it's an injury to my own psychological aspect. Okay, my own psychological being.
Mhm.
But I'm okay with that in knowing that I might have a positive effect on that person. Again, my avenue is do no harm. Even though they're harming me,
Mhm.
I prefer not to harm them
Mhm.
in retaliation, in response, and whatever you want to define that as. Because it goes then back to what Shadow Fox has said multiple times. As soon as I respond back with that harm,
Mhm.
it's now a fight.
Yeah. Well,
Fight never ends.
well, here's the thing, and I would just like to say this. I mean, yeah, cause no harm, and I mean, come on, what is that saying? Hell is paved with good intentions, right? Um, I There comes a point where yes, we choose not to create harm, but at the same time that we have to draw that line to where, hey, I am not going to stand here and allow you to throw daggers at me and belittle me or whatever those little red flags are for anybody else. Okay, these, I'm just throwing them out as examples. I'll be damned if I'm going to like play that victim and allow you to step all over me where you can throw harm and so on. It's like calling bullshit on bullshit, because yeah, I my life has always been not to cause harm, well, at least from a certain age on. I kind of loved to live that life, you know. It was like the rougher it was, the nastier it was. Oh yeah, let's do it. Right. Um, no, but then at the same point in time, I will not tolerate people causing harm to me or to other people because it just, no, it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not a garbage dump. And no, I don't care to have it on my.
I think what has to be realized that is one of those contradictory things that one person's harm is another person's beneficence.
Yeah.
What is perceived as harm
Yep.
by a person to another person would be an
Yep.
opening, would be a graduation out of a state of mind
Yes.
that they have to go through.
Yep.
So where do we draw the line? We can't be missionaries. We're not
Nope.
missionaries.
And we don't even know sometimes if we've crossed that boundary, right? That, for somebody, maybe we say something, it's like, oh God, So therefore, was a harm caused? Was the intent to
Right.
really step that over that boundary and push and see how far we can push? That would be ill intent. That would be really stepping forward and causing harm. But we could also be in a conversation and then something is said, or something is offered and it was like, oh boy, did I step over that one.
Well,
So just like Lee Tuox was saying, this is where we have to have healthy boundaries.
right.
And boundaries are created as a buffer system, not a brick wall. Okay, you're not supposed to just run into somebody else's boundary and then wonder what the hell happened as you're all freaking smashed, right? No, it's supposed to be a nice soft boundary so that we all can learn to work together and try not to cross those boundaries
Right.
that will cause harm.
It goes back to one of the episodes that Bryce had on his Stoic workshop in relation to what Marcus Aurelius was trying to foment. Um, there is, okay, we all have to live here together. So we have to learn how to tolerate each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with that, when it comes to somebody that is throwing things at me, I have to determine if it's a ego thing, if it's a malicious intent behind it, if it is incompetency or ignorance. I have to determine what I'm going to allow to come my way.
Yes.
Okay. So when somebody is, again, they're at a casino, they've lost money, they're up there, they're spitting in my face because they think they were ripped off or whatever. I know that they were in a casino and they lost money, or they feel like they were treated wrongly, or they're just angry because they lost something and they wish they didn't. So there's a lot of different things that they're going to be coming at in relation to where their anger comes from. Versus I go into a space and I'm talking about a topic and somebody completely disagrees with how I believe in it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now they start calling me names. They start throwing out malicious comments and stuff like that. I have to make the determination, can I continue to have a conversation with this person, or do I need to cut the string right here?
Well, here's Cato's statement, and I'm sure you have it up on yours. The quote, do no harm, but don't tolerate bullshit.
Right. So there is a line that even with me, I don't allow it to be crossed. Okay. But I am more tolerable to a lot of things than what a lot of other people are, because I am willing to take that time to work with somebody to find out what drives them. Why do they come at me the way they do? Are they simply just trying to get a response? In other words, they're not coming into the conversation with good faith.
Yeah.
They're coming in with bad intent. If they're coming in with bad intent, I don't need that in my life. Okay.
Right.
I get enough death threats as it is right now. I don't need any more. But if somebody's coming in with a good faith intention of wanting to understand something and weigh it later on in their own mind on what their own belief system is, I am more than happy to go there.
Right.
I think we both have a comment on Dan.
Yeah. Can you read that? Can you put Diana's comment up?
A coercion of free will, even if the person is dead set on a path that seems a bad direction for them. But just perhaps they need to go down this path to learn something.
And this is what we've all been aware of, at least those who have walked this path, is the understanding that interference in another's choice can be
Yes.
detrimental. We can offer counseling, we can offer compassion, we can offer understanding. But if their mode of operation is
Yep.
simple, I will continue on this path.
Yep.
That is a choice that they have made, and there's nothing we can do about
And
it,
then-
unfortunately.
And so we can pack them a lunch.
Yep.
You know, give them a bottle of water, and they're on the path, man.
Right.
You know?
Well, and here's the thing. Say we come at them with good intent and they just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on.
Exactly.
Let me finish. And like you said, they're on that path. Maybe somewhere on that path, they're going to run into somebody that reminds them of that conversation and makes them reflect. So maybe that could just be another stitch in the seam.
You know, I would like if you don't mind sharing this. When you were young and you never smiled, and you had that one person that
Okay, she's talking about when I was
very young.
8, 9, 10. I was a ward of the state. I was in a foster care home where the gentleman, the husband, was so kind, so generous, and the woman was a bitch. Okay, so we'll just leave it at that. However, I never smiled. They took me into a donkey basketball game, which I don't think they even have anymore, and everybody was laughing their heads off, and I never cracked a smile. To me, I thought it was stupid. But so anyhow, he'd always out in the barn. It was a farm. On the barn, he'd say, "Step right up, one thin dime, one thin dime. Make a smile on this man's face. You get the dime, one thin dime. See if you can work this guy to get a smile on his face." And eventually, I collapsed under his kindness, and I smiled. But it was tough. It was exceedingly tough. It had been years since I had smiled. I didn't know what a smile was.
And you know what? It was that one individual.
Yep.
That put him on a trajectory. Was like, I can smile. Like, smiling exists.
He
Okay.
broke you. He broke you.
Yeah. You know, and there, you know, people will come in and out of our lives for many different reasons. But from what I know about my husband's life, that point in time with that gentleman, I think really helped him and changed a little bit of the trajectory. You know, is for that one moment, one person showed him kindness. He didn't know how to respond.
Right.
Just one person.
Yep.
And that's all it has to do. We can all be that one person and offer somebody at some point in time, especially when they're down, especially when they've had the rug pulled out, to offer that kindness.
And to your point, it was not instantaneous.
No.
Right.
It took me time to adjust to this
Yes.
new frame of living.
Yeah.
Right.
And I entered it with terror because I had been judged so much and I had been put down so much that if I smiled, it'd be like giving in. And I wasn't going to give in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And here's something else for people to remember, okay? You're not the same person today that you were yesterday.
No.
No.
There's
Exactly.
always change that's going about, whether it's your conscious mind or your subconscious mind. There's always change that's going about, okay? So just know that you have lived many, many lives just in your existence, okay? I am not who I was when I was a child. I am not who I was when I was a teenager, and I'm not who I was when I was a young man,
Yes.
and I'm not who I was yesterday.
Yep. I'm not even who I was a minute ago.
Okay? I continue to learn. And the difference between myself and a lot of other people is that I'm willing to learn. Okay? And that's one of the biggest barriers that we have, because we were asking at the beginning of the show, how do we change people?
Yeah.
Okay. We have to open up their mind to want a willingness to learn.
But,
Yeah. Oh, Paul. No. Let's clarify this, please, because this is. I mean, we are teachers in our own right, and I'm going to say we will never. No, we did not open this up to change anyone.
Right.
It is absolutely not. It was like, oh no. That's up for each individual. And
Right.
it's only in their own perfect timing, in their own resolution, because we could be talking about something and people could be listening, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. And there's other people who have absolutely no idea what the heck we're talking about, but yet they may listen to it next week and go, oh my God, it should have had a freaking V8. And just to bring this, because I'd like to bring this part to a close, okay? Because Diana, hang on, I got to read this now. Love keeps lifting you higher, higher, and higher. Is that part of the song here? Am I hearing tunes coming out from your voice, Diana? So, this is that part. Paul, I'm sorry, but
No, I misspoke, but yes.
Yes, because I'm sorry, my function in this world is not to change people. My function is to offer the ability and the tools for those individuals to make the changes in their lives when they see fit.
Yes.
we know you know this, Paul. It's just a phrase that was not appropriate.
And because it's on YouTube and it's not like on the telephone. I mean, if you and I, we were all talking, that would be one thing. But because people are listening
I just wanted to clarify. I don't want to change people. I want people to change on their own for the better.
Yes.
I want people to make that choice to change to be a better person.
Yes.
Yep.
So I would just, we can wrap this up and
you want to put a bow on it?
Do you have a bow?
I got a bow.
Oh, Diana knows how to make bows. By the way, Diana definitely knows how to make bows. I have seen them. I'm not very good at that.
But do you realize bow and bow are the same word, it's spelled the same.
Yeah.
So to bow to a bow,
and so did you guys get that?
I'm so set against bowing to anyone.
I know.
It's like, wow.
Yes.
All right. Excellent show. Just to let everybody know, tomorrow I have Leaning Left David on, a special exclusive interview. Please check it out. We're going to talk about probably a little into Roe v. Wade, probably a little into gun control. It makes me think of Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Absolutely.
Thank you,
absolutely.
And
yes.
I think Kata was asking if there was an after party on Twitter. We could.
Yep. But anyways, remember tomorrow I have that show, and it will be at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. It's a very late show. Join us tomorrow. It should be pretty good.
Thank you, Paul, for teaching us.
Yes. Then Friday I have T-Paw, and Saturday I have T-Paw with the Vellum. That's going to be a great show. Mm-hmm. And then on Saturday I have Comedy and Controversy with Jeremy Baker, and we are going to have two special guests on there, Sarah Donahue and Alana Quest. It's going to be very, very intense. There's going to be fun, but intensity. We are going to be talking about racism, and we are going to be talking about a couple comedians, Eddie Murphy, David Chappelle, and probably a few others. So again, stay with us. Lots of interesting topics coming up. Good shows. thank you again, you two. I appreciate it.
Hey, you know, honestly, Paul, it's been fantastic to be able to co-host with you, and you know, for everyone that's tuning in, thank you for being here. Thank you for tweeting out the videos of this, and honestly, you know, we are of service, so um, it's a great honor to be able to do that. And Paul, thank you, and
Honor is
thank
all
you,
mine to have you here. Thank you.
and thank you all.
I appreciate you being here. Remember,
Bless you,
everyone.
Paul. Thank you.
Remember, everyone. Be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. Thank you.
Oh.